Good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. It is 9 a.m. We are here in council chambers for the hearing examiner hearings. Before we start our hearings, I have a few preliminary comments. Our process is a little bit different than that followed in other jurisdictions. So if you're not familiar with it, I'd like to acquaint you with that. In our process, the clerk will read the introduction of the case. The clerk will then swear in anyone who is testifying. The city staff will testify regarding public notice. If public notice has been found, we go forward with the hearing. If it has not been found, we follow another path that will be discussed at that time. The applicant then goes first and presents their entire case. The city staff goes second and presents their case. Public comment is then opened. Once it is opened, please be sure to make all your comments comprehensive, because once public comment is closed, it will not be reopened. The applicant then responds to questions, makes any final comments, staff does the same, and the hearing is closed. If you have a cell phone with you today, please silence it or turn it off if possible. If you need to take any telephone conversations while we are in hearings, please take them outside the room if possible. And if you wish to have private conversations, please move away from the lecterns, which are in front of me right here, so we do not accidentally record your conversation. If we do record your conversation, they become public record at that time and available to anyone to listen to. If you have comments today, please come to the microphone so we can properly record your testimony. All testimony must be under oath, and members of the public are requested to go to the microphone, which is at my left, your right. It has the same video and audio capability as the microphone here, which is utilized by the applicant, the applicant's representative, and by staff. Anyone who is providing testimony other than the applicant or applicant's staff, applicant's representative and staff is requested to fill out a public participation card so we can properly spell your name. If you wish a copy of the hearing examiner recommendation or order, as the case may be, please do provide your email contact information. However, please recognize that once you have provided that email contact information, it becomes public record and available to anyone who wishes to obtain it. With those preliminary comments, I'm turning it over to our clerk to announce the first case. Thank you very much.
Case number DEV 24-000002, address 1418 Southwest 43rd Street, applicant Isaac Burgos. A deviation of 3 feet to allow a boat lift with a side setback of 9 feet from the east property line. Property located at 1418 Southwest 43rd Street. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Justin Heller, Senior Planner with the Cape Coral Planning Division. Just want to state for the record that this case was noticed with an ad placed in a local newspaper, a sign placed on the property, and mailings sent out to all properties within 500 feet.
Thank you. I will find the proper notice was given.
Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the applicant or applicant's representative up, please? Thank you. Do we have an applicant for today in this case? Okay. Is Mr. Burgos, are you here, sir? All right. We'll move this case to the bottom of the docket. I will continue it for the purpose of moving to the bottom of the docket in the hopes that the applicant is maybe caught in traffic, etc. Since we don't have a time certain as to when the docket will be concluded today, I would just note for the record that we have cases A through G, and case A will be moved to following the conclusion of case G. So it is continued for that purpose only. Let's move on to case number B, please, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Case number DEV 24-000006, address 5355 Colonnade Court, applicant Waterway Boat Lift Covers. The owner is requesting a 10-foot deviation from the marine improvement standard of 40 feet established in the Land Development Code to allow a boat canopy with a maximum length of 50 feet. The location is lots 56 and 57, block 147, Unit 4, Cape Coral subdivision. The address is 5355 Colonnade Court. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure that everyone got sworn in, but we'll deal with it at the time. It's fine. All right, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Candace Ford, planner with the City Planning Division. I am here to affirm that this was properly noticed. We did place a sign on the site. Mailers were sent out to everyone within 500 feet, and then there was also a news press ad that was published.
Thank you. I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you very much. Can we have the applicant's representative up, please? Thank you. And would you state your name for the record, please?
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Sherry Gaston with Waterway Boat Lift Covers, and I'm here to represent Kevin Kelly and the deviation that he is needing. Waterway Boat Lift Covers initially, I can't see that far. Hold on a second. Hold on.
What am I doing?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Waterway Boat Lift Covers Incorporated installs boat lift cover systems over existing boat lifts. We have two styles of systems that a customer can choose from, radius veranda beam and the radius beam style. These systems are built with marine-grade aluminum, vinyl, and bungees built to withstand the harshest of elements in Florida. These are the two examples of the veranda beams that we offer. And the customer is requesting a deviation of 10 feet to allow to cover his investment properly. The current ordinance, no more than one boat canopy for each residential unit lawfully existing on the property shall be permitted. No canopy, when measured at its highest point, shall extend more than 14 feet above the seawall cap, or if no seawall exists above the decking of the marine improvement, no boat shall exceed 40 feet in length or 18 feet in width. This currently represents Mr. Kelly's boat that he currently owns, and that is what the ordinance would cover. And this represents the 50-foot, allowing approximately 1 foot to 1.5 feet extending past the boat and the motors, allowing for the sun change of sunset and sunrise. The customer is asking for an additional 10 feet of canopy system to cover his entire boat so he can protect his entire investment. Waterway Boat Lift Covers Incorporated is asking on behalf of Mr. Kelly to have the deviation approved so that we can install the customer's canopy system and help him protect his investment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Once again, Candace Ford, planner with the City Planning Division. As previously noted, the applicant and property owner is going to be Kevin and Christine Kelly. Sherry is the authorized representative. The location is 5355 Colonnade Court. And as previously noted, the applicants are requesting the 10-foot deviation from the marine improvement standard established to allow a 50-foot maximum length canopy cover. The site is shown on the screen there. And this is a snippet from the proposed marine improvement plan showing the 50-foot canopy cover and the current dock and seawall situation on site. A little bit of background about the site. It is currently a 10,000 square foot site that is improved with a single family home. It does include a dock, seawall, and boat lift. The owner did recently obtain a marine improvement permit to build a 406 square foot dock with a boat lift. The site is along the Caldwell Canal, which does lead to the Coral Canal, which then has access to the Caloosahatchee River. And per the Lee County Property Appraiser records, the house was constructed in 1988. Some criteria listed in Land Development Code section 5.4.11.a.b Point two, point B, excuse me. The factors that shall be considered include the design, size, and location of the proposed boat canopy, the effect on the water body in which the canopy is located, and the effect of the canopy on the use and enjoyment of the surrounding properties. Staff did the analysis, and we found that the proposed canopy would not extend more than 18 feet, which would be about 23% into the Cobalt Canal, which would be less than the maximum requirement of 25 feet. The request does increase the boat canopy width, will therefore not pose a navigational hazard for boaters using the waterway. The location of the canopy will provide a 10-foot setback from the north and a 20-foot setback from the south, providing the adjacent neighbors with adequate access to the marine improvements on their respective properties. Standard C was that the canopy will not obscure visibility of the Cobalt Canal for the surrounding property owners. We do have a section in the LDC that prevents boat canopies from extending more than 30 inches from any dock or seawall to which the canopy would be attached. This restriction would prevent the canopy from imposing a navigational hazard for those using the canal. However, staff finds that the proposed 50 feet length of the canopy appears unreasonable to protect a boat length that has a length of 43 feet that would have a about 7-foot overhang based on the pictures that were submitted, and I'll show in a minute. As per the comprehensive plan, policy 1.3.5, the city would maintain that there are no permitted fueling stations or repair facilities within the residential zoning classifications. The applicant did not request that, so they're within their, within that policy. And then staff also found that for policy 1.15, table 1 of the comprehensive plan, the single-family residential future land use classification is identified as being consistent with the single-family residential zoning district. And then these were pictures that were obtained from the applicant and sent over, showing about a little bit more than a 43-foot boat while docked in their parking spot, if you will. And then planning staff recommends denial of the deviation just because of the excessive overhang. And then prior to HEX, staff did receive one email from an resident just asking to confirm the location of the site, but they didn't have any for or against the proposed project. And that's all I have at this time.
Thank you. I have no questions. Thank you. This is a public hearing. I do have one request to speak. If you do want to speak on this subject, but you've not signed up, it's okay. You can go ahead and speak as long as you are sworn in, and we can obtain the correct spelling of your name afterwards. But I have a request to speak from Alan Weckerline. Mr. Weckerline, could you come up, please, sir? Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to support the staff's recommendation of denial of this deviation. I agree that the 50-foot canopy is too large for a 42, 43-foot boat. My property is directly across the canal. And as the canopy gets larger, it would affect the use and enjoyment of the neighborhood as it was planned originally. Back when we bought our house, we could see all the way to the river, but we could not see down there now, even with just a few canopies put up that meet requirements of 40 feet.
Take your time, sir. It's okay.
If this canopy keeps getting larger, there becomes less and less area for boats to maneuver and make turnabouts to leave the canal bow first. In fact, we've had one, not this applicant, the Kellys are excellent boaters, but another neighbor down the way trying to turn around and backed into our cement or concrete part of our dock and knocked off an edge of it, hit it so hard. As we get less area without any intrusions into the canal, which this dock canopy effect would make, there's less area for people to turn around and leave the canal. Additionally, and I don't remember if it was this owner, but during one hurricane that we had, the canopy that was there then had not been removed. And the wind blew it off and into another neighbor's yard. It didn't get into mine. But as canopies get larger and larger, the effect of wind getting under them and lifting them up and causing damage to adjacent properties increases. I know she just showed up, but one of my neighbors is concerned about being able to get her boat out of her dock and make a U-turn to leave. But in conclusion, I think we agree with staff's recommendation that the deviation be denied.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for taking your time this morning to come in to testify. Thank you. Is there, I saw there's some other hands. The lady in the black, come on up, please. Yeah, you, yes, come on up. Yes, come on up, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, so I can't call you by name. Were you sworn in, ma'am?
Hello, good morning.
Were you, ma'am, were you sworn in?
Excuse me, I filled out something, but I just picked it up and put it back there. I can give it to them.
Oh, that's, what question was, did you stand up and raise your hand and swear to tell the truth? Madam Clerk, would you please assist here? Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
And could we have your name, please, ma'am?
Pardon?
Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Barbara Hockey,
Thank you. Go ahead.
and I've
Thank you.
got all right. I happen to live immediately next door to this piece of property. I'm on the south side, and I'm opposed to what's going to be happening to change what I think is a very logical rule that you have at the present time. And I'll explain why. We all have 80-foot lots. And when we come into our back of our canal, we come into the canal, and if we want to park our boats, we have what I call parallel parking. And it's an 80-foot length. When you have a 40-foot canopy, and usually the boat then would be somewhere within that area, that length. But if you're going to be doing it and you're got to the next lot and they also are right up, okay, the property that you're talking about, they're going to be putting a 50-foot canopy in, and it'll go probably right to the very north lot line. Now that's 50 feet. They've got 30 feet left to maneuver their boat. If my dock is right there at my north side also, at that north point of my lot. And right at this point in time, we are 20 feet back where our slip is. And we have, and when I added it all up, I did this early this morning, when I added that all up, I actually only have 35 feet in the back side before I hit the lot line for the next house. So this particular boat right now even still has to come in, and they are, I would say, 20 feet into my side with what they've got, because it's going to be a 43-foot boat. And so when they come in, if by chance, and someday we were hit by Ian, and we would want to rebuild and have our property so we can put our slip right against the north side, so that we can see the rest of the canal, of course, and the neighbors across the canal. So when you do it and you decide to do a 50 and they have a 43-foot boat, there is really no room to do your navigation of your boat. This particular party, he's an excellent boater, there's no doubt. And by the way, very nice people. It's just that when you come down to doing a variation or deviation now, you are starting a precedent where somebody else could have a 50-foot, 53-foot, well, canopy, and then you've got the engines at the end of the boat. So just navigating, to me, it's a very difficult thing. So for the safety of people that live on the canal and bring their boats in, that I guess I would like to see this denied, because I don't think it should be set as a precedence that somewhere it's being done. And it is all parallel parking, and I don't believe that there's enough space to be able to have a 50-foot canopy when you consider a boat and length and motors in parallel parking. That's all.
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for taking your time. I appreciate your comments today.
Do you want me to sign this?
That's fine, or our clerk can assist you with that.
I can give you this sheet that I did fill out.
That's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you
that.
very much.
right.
Thank you for listening.
All right.
There you go. Thank you.
I saw the lady in blue and white. Come on up. And I believe you were sworn in. Is that
Yes, I
okay? And would you please state your name for the record, please?
was. Kathy Wackerling.
Is that Kathy with a K or a C?
C, C-A-T-H-Y.
Thank you. This is your turn.
Okay. Yeah, I also agree that it should be not denied. And you know, like my husband was saying, 50 foot takes up most of the lot. And you know, I can see when they come in and park now, often they can't get into their lift because the canal is too shallow. So now they're parking in front of my neighbor's house property, Barbara that testified before. And when they do turn around the way I mean, there's very little space. Sometimes I think they're going to hit my seawall, but he's such a good driver, I know he won't. Yeah, because he can just maneuver in no space. But not every boat has all the thrusters and all the skills that he has. And I can see someone moving in with a different boat and running right into our dock and the side and crashing into it and ruining cement again. So I'm concerned because now they're talking about maybe having to dredge the canal to get their boat into the lift. And it just gets all so complicated. And if they just had a 40-foot, or even if it was the variance or deviation to 42, which is the official length of the boat on the specs, you know, I could deal with that. But the 50-foot really, I think, is going to cause both the navigation problem and also the enjoyment of the canal. I think people think when you talk about the enjoyment of the canal, you're just talking about the boaters and if there's room and if they can get out in the canal. But we love to sit on our dock and look at all the wildlife and the birds and the ducks and you know, it's just going to be like having another 50-foot roof, which is basically as long as some of the houses on our street, sitting right on the canal in front of us. So I would like to see this denied.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for coming in today. I know everyone's time is valuable, so
Okay, thank you.
appreciate you coming in. I saw some other hands that were interested in speaking. Is there anyone else who wishes to provide public testimony? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment section of the public hearing and bring it back to the applicant's representative. Ms. Gaston, can we have you up, please? Did you wish to respond to the people at public comment?
Yes, I do. This canopy is parallel to his property, so as far as vision impediment or anything, it's 14 feet above the seawall cap. He is well within his setbacks of the riparian lines on both sides, and he is also less than the 25% of the canal width for protrusion. And as she had stated, that the specifications from the manufacturer on this boat are 42 feet. That does not include the motors. He has quite a few motors on the back that are valued at thousands and thousands of dollars that add about 5 to 5.5 feet length to the boat, which he would also like to protect those investments as well. As you know, the Florida sun is harsh on everything. So I don't know about the pictures that I sent with the measurements, but the boat itself, per the manufacturer of a 2022 Sea Ray 400 LX, is 42 feet, does not include motors. With the 50-foot canopy, it's giving him a foot to maybe 1.5 feet on each end that goes beyond the motor and the bow of the boat. So with that being said, he's really within his reasonings of setbacks and protrusion, and actually the length as well to cover the entire investment.
The concern I have is that in the introduction that I gave this morning, the applicant is required to address all of the factors that are under the Land Development Code for deviations, and I do not believe that you addressed each of them. You did a very nice presentation, but I don't believe you addressed all the factors that would be in play today. And the reason why I didn't bring it up at the time is I wanted you to see the staff's presentation where she did address all of the factors. And so I am concerned that you did not address all the factors. This is your opportunity to correct those deficiencies in your presentation if you choose to do so. What some people do, if they agree with the staff report, which obviously you do not, is they incorporate the staff report into their presentation. I would assume that's not your intent today, because that would be contrary to you even appearing here today.
Correct.
So I'm having a concern about how your application does not address all those factors. Did you want to comment on that?
Which factors are you talking about, the setbacks and protrusions?
I'm not allowed to tell you.
Well, as I said, it's well within his riparian line setbacks and the protrusion into the canal. This has also been fully permitted through the Department of Environmental Protection, which would not have been approved if he was not within all of those specifications as well.
I can appreciate your comments. Is there anything else that you'd want to say this morning?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much
You're
for your
welcome.
testimony. Appreciate it. Ms. Ford, do you want to come up and, if there's anything else you wish to say, if you choose not to, that's fine also.
I don't think there's anything I wish to add at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. I will take all the comments, including the comments at public comment. Ma'am, I can't take other comments, I'm sorry. I'll take all the comments under advisement. I will try to get the decision out as quickly as possible. And with those comments, let's move on to the next hearing. Actually, let's wait a minute to allow folks, if you choose to leave, this is a good time to leave, or if you want to stay for the remainder of the hearings, that's fine too. So let's just wait a minute and see if folks would like to stay or leave. Okay, I think we can go forward with our next hearing, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Case number DEV 24-000008, address 150 Southwest 50th Street, applicant, Waterway Boat Lift Covers. The owner is requesting a 10-foot deviation from the marine improvement standard of 40 feet established in the Land Development Code to allow a boat canopy with a maximum length of 50 feet. The location is lots 47 and 48, block 169, unit 3, Cape Coral subdivision. The address is 150 Southwest 50th Street. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good
Morning
morning,
again.
Madam Hearing Examiner. Once again, Candace Ford with the City Planning Division. I am here to confirm that this project was properly noticed. We did place a sign on site, We did send mailers to every resident within 500 feet, and then a local news press ad was also published.
Thank you. I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you.
Thank
Will the applicant's representative up, please? Thank you. Good morning again.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing the same as I did last year. Very well, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
And could you say your name for the record, please?
Sherry Gaston with Waterway Boat Lift Covers.
Thank you.
I'm just going to kind of go past some of the other things that are just generic, because it's the same as the two styles of canopies.
Well, actually, each hearing stands on its own, so
Oh,
if you
okay.
could go through all your elements,
All
I'd
right,
appreciate that.
Waterway Boat Lift Covers Incorporated installs boat lift cover systems over existing boat lifts. We have two styles of systems that a customer can choose from, radius veranda beam and the radius beam style. Our systems are built with marine grade aluminum, vinyl, and bungees, built to withstand the harshest elements of Florida. This is an example of both of our canopies that we offer. And the customer is requesting a 10-foot deviation from the 40 due to the fact that his Bertram center console is 42 foot in length. Motors extend an additional 5 feet, which give him a total of 47 feet with 1.5 foot clearance on the bow and the stern. The current ordinance is no more than 1 boat canopy for each residential unit lawfully existing on the property shall be permitted. No canopy, when measured at its highest point, will extend more than 14 feet above the seawall cap, or if no seawall exists above the decking of the marine improvement. No boat shall exceed 40 foot in length, 18 foot in width. This is Mr. Jepson's boat, an example of the type of boat that he has, and that is what the ordinance right now will cover. And with the extension of 10 feet, that is the coverage which would be quite adequate for Mr. Jepson's boat. Our customer is asking for an additional 10 feet of canopy system to cover his entire boat so that he can protect his entire investment. Waterway Boat Lift Covers Incorporated is asking on behalf of Mr. Jepson to have this deviation approved so we can install the customer's canopy system and help him protect his investments. And the only other thing I would like to add is this gentleman as well is within his protrusion of the width of the waterway, and he is also within his allowance of the riparian lines setbacks as well. And this job also has been approved by Department of Environmental Protection and also Army Corps of Engineers.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Good morning once again, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Candace Ford, Planner with the City Planning Division. As previously stated, the applicant is going to be Mr. Jepson, and the authorized representative is Sherry Gaston. The location is going to be 150 Southwest 50th Street, and as previously noted, the applicants are currently requesting the 10-foot deviation to allow a 50-foot canopy cover for their boat. The location is there on the screen highlighted in red. And then the dash buffer is all residents within 500 feet that receive the mailing list. This is going to be the snippet from their proposed marine improvement plans, which do show the canopy cover, their current dock, lift, and seawall. A little bit of background about the site. It is currently 12,444.67 square feet, and it is currently improved with a single-family home that does include a dock, a seawall, and a boat lift. The owner did recently receive a marine improvement permit in 2022 to build a 1,100 square foot dock with the 2 lifts. The site is currently along the San Jose Canal, which does have a platted width of about 195 feet, and it's about 300 feet east of the Santa Clara Canal intersection with the San Jose Canal, Per the Lee County Property Appraiser records, the house was constructed in roughly 1983. Some of the criteria listed in the LDC for deviations that staff should look at is the factors shall be considered, including the design, size, and location of the proposed canopy, boat canopy, the effect on the water body in which the canopy is located, and the effect of the canopy on the use and enjoyment of the surrounding properties. Staff analysis was the proposed canopy will not extend more than 44 feet into the San Jose Canal. The marine improvement currently extends 39 feet into the canal, which is less than the 40 feet or 25% of the width of the water body as allowed per the LDC. The requested increase in boat canopy width will therefore not pose a navigational hazard for boaters using the canal. However, there are no special conditions related to the San Jose Canal or property that would justify the proposed deviation of the 50-foot long canopy cover. Subsection B is the location of the proposed canopy will provide a 12.6 foot setback from the west property line and a 12-foot setback from the east property line, thus providing the adjacent neighbors with adequate access to their marine improvements on their respective properties. Standard C is the canopy will not obscure visibility of the canal or surrounding property owners. There's a section in the LDC that prevents boat canopies from extending more than 30 inches from any dock or seawall to which the canopy is affixed. And criteria D is the proposed 50-foot length of the canopy does appear excessive to protect a boat that has a length of currently about 45.1 feet. It would create about a 4.9-foot overhang, which seems larger than necessary. As for the comprehensive plan, policy 1.3.5 prevents the city from permitting fueling or repairing facilities within residential zoning classifications. Staff would like to note that the deviation request did not include either of those requests, so it's compliant with that. And then policy 1.15, table 1, notes that the single-family residential zoning district is identified as being consistent with the single-family future land use classification. And then these are some pictures that were presented from the applicant showing about a 45.1 roughly foot boat right there. And then planning staff recommends denial of the deviation. Prior to HEC, staff did not receive any correspondence or inquiries regarding this case.
Thank you. I have no questions. This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment section of the public hearing, bring it back to the applicant's representative. Would you come up, please? Thank you. You've heard staff's testimony. Do you have any further testimony you'd like to present in this regard?
The only thing that I can say at this point is by the manufacturer's specs, the boat is 42 foot. The motors do extend a minimum of 5 feet off of the rear, which would be a 47-foot length in total. And that would be a 1.5-foot overhang per front and back of the boat.
Okay, and once again, there are specific criteria that you have to address as the applicant, and you have not addressed all of those criteria for today, so your application is really deficient. This is your opportunity to correct that if you choose. And as I indicated before, what some applicants do is they incorporate the staff report. Clearly, since the staff is recommending denial, you would not be doing that, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be standing here.
Right.
So this is your opportunity to provide any further testimony to address those factors you've not previously addressed. And I do not have the ability to advise you because
Right.
I'm the hearing officer.
Honestly, I mean, this is the third one I've done. The first one we came to, there was exact information that we gave, and there was no issues of lacking evidence or anything like that. But as I said in the original testimony, he is with all of his riparian setbacks. He's within the protrusions. It's the proper coverage for his boat and motors. It has been approved federally and state. That's really about all I have to give.
I appreciate, and the city of Cape Coral has independent jurisdiction that is not necessarily relevant to the state and federal in this particular kind of a situation. Well, I
Correct.
appreciate your testimony.
Yes.
I'm not sure that that's relevant.
Yes, I realize that it's totally different entities. The only thing I'm stating is if he was not within his allowance of protrusions, setbacks and such, it would not have been approved with them. So they are following the guidelines of the county ordinance as far as riparian lines and protrusions go.
Thank you for your testimony. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much for
You're
coming in today. All right. We'll at this point close that hearing. Madam Clerk, could you address the next hearing? Thank you, by calling it.
Case number VAC 24-000007, address 1130 Southwest 43rd Street. Applicant, MRC Property Management LLC. The owner requests to vacate approximately 1,001 square feet of lake right-of-way, ROW, and all underlying easements, and approximately 888 square feet of platted easements associated with the south property line of lots 19 to 22, block 3347, unit 65. Property located at 1130 Southwest 43rd Street. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning again, Mr. Heller.
Good morning, Justin Heller, Senior Planner with the Cape Coral Planning Division. I want to state for the record, this case was noticed with the sign placed on the property, mailing sent out to all residences within 500 feet, and an ad was run in the local newspaper.
I will find that proper notice was given. Thank you very much. All right, may we have the applicant's representative up? Come on up, sir, and if you'll state your name for the record, thank you.
My name is Stephen LaBeouf.
All right, thank you.
I am just here as a representative for the owner of the property, which I happen to sell him. And he wants to build a new house on the property. And this particular property has about a 6 to 7 foot easement across the waterfront, which most waterfront properties in Cape Coral don't have. For some reason, so he's like to get the easement vacated. All the utility companies have signed off on that. So I don't really understand the technicalities beyond that.
Well, I'm assuming this is your first time.
It is.
Okay, so let me give you some thoughts here. What some people do, the city has technical requirements for vacation of property, as I'm sure that you know. And so what some people do is they say that they agree with the staff report, if in fact you do agree with the staff report, and you wish to incorporate that into your presentation. If you agree with what the staff report says, then that would take all the technical pieces and make them part of your presentation today.
Right.
Is that what you wish to do?
I don't have a copy of the staff report, so to agree with it or not would.
Okay. Well, that's a little bit of a problem because I can't consider your presentation unless I have all of the pieces of the requirements by the LDC. So maybe what we should do is let's take a break on this hearing, and perhaps the staff member can give you a copy of the staff report, and you can have an opportunity to read it, and then we can come back today. I'm not talking about coming back another day, and you can maybe decide how you'd like to continue presenting your case.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm
Fair
going to continue the case under consideration at this time, VAC 24-0000, I think I said no, 07, for the sole purpose of the applicant's representative having the ability to review the staff report and present further testimony. I will continue to the end of the docket, so we have case number A, which will follow case number G, and now we will have case number D follow case number A. And if that's confusing, hopefully I'll be able to sort it out, but we have a highly competent clerk, I have no doubt at all. She'll bring her expertise to this subject. So we're putting a pause by continuing that. Let's move on to case number E, and that would be the applicant Blue Water Trust LLC. If the clerk will go ahead and call the case. Thank you very much.
Case number RZN 24-000005, address 1224 Country Club Boulevard, applicant Blue Water Trust LLC. Rezone lots 60 to 67 in Unit 22, Block 809 from Professional Office P to Residential Multifamily Low RML. Property is located at 1224 Country Club Boulevard and 1306 Country Club Boulevard. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning again, Mr. Heller.
Morning, Justin Heller, Senior Planner, Cape Coral Planning Division. This case was noticed with an ad run in the local newspaper, sign placed on the property, and mailings sent out to all properties within 500 feet.
I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you very much. Can we have the applicant's representative up, please? Thank you. And would you state your name for the record, please?
Leslie Spade.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. I've never done this before, so I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous. You can take as much time as you need, and I'm sure you do a great job.
All right.
And maybe staff will help you with setting up your PowerPoint.
I'm kind of going to go off. Is there another, how does this thing work?
I have it up here. Is that yours?
It's nice meeting you, by the way. Thank you.
You need to use that, just let me know.
Okay.
The projector.
Sorry about that. All right.
It's okay, take your time.
So we are in agreement with the other 4 standards on the staff report, besides standard 4, which is, sorry, I'm gonna get to the page. Can I have just a second to set these pages up? Whether the proposed planning district will serve community need for broader public interest. So that's the only one we are in disagreement regarding.
Okay, so can you, I'm sorry, can you state, you're a little off mic,
Oh.
so, no, you're fine, you're fine.
The
Go-
microphone makes me nervous.
You're good. So can you state for the record, can you state which ones you are in agreement with, and then we'll address them?
We are in agreement with, I didn't bring that paper up. I didn't think you were going to ask me what all the other standards. Do you have a copy of the staff report, or do I have a second to go back?
That's okay. Why don't you address the one that you're not in agreement with, and then we can go back and address
Okay,
the others.
perfect.
Okay?
Maybe one of my associates can bring up the original, it says Blue Water Trust. Okay.
That's fine. You're doing well. Keep going.
All right. So,
You can actually read your PowerPoint if you want, or you can not read it.
So I'm kind of going to go off topic too, a little bit, not completely with that as well. So historical zoning and original intent, this property was purchased by the owner 22 years ago with the expectation that it was zoned residential multifamily RML. So the owner's intention was always to develop the property into duplexes or for family use in accordance with the zoning at the time. The rezoning to professional was unforeseen change that does not align with the original purpose of the property, nor does it serve the needs of the surrounding community. The city should not use this arbitrary change to alienate the property from its intended residential use on the land development plan. So this is currently the property's location. The 2 stars there on the right-hand side of the screen represent Country Club Boulevard. So currently, I'm going to flip a couple slides in front. So currently, these stars on this map, just so everybody has a foresight to see the actual the residents in the neighborhood. So these properties around here are all duplexes, the ones with the stars. It's all residential. All 4 sides of this project or this property is not on the main corridor, and it's all residential. Many of these people are operating businesses out of their homes, so I'll get back to that in a little bit. I just wanted to fast forward a little bit. I'm going to leave that one up on the screen. I'm kind of just going to go. So again, when they purchased this property, the aspiration was to build a home that was consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and all the adjacent homes of the area were all RML at the time of this purchase. Since then, unbeknownst to Andrew, George, which is the property owner, it was rezoned to P, but all the other properties in this area remained the residential medium-low. Why was his property alienated? So the number that it represents on the Nicholas Parkway corridor that's needed equates to 1.84, and in the grand scheme of things, it's 0.18 on the total land that's needed, which is the 3155. So we were just wondering why this particular property is so crucial to the need for the land when you're looking at the numbers. And this is number 2 on the numbers that are needed for the corridors. So that gets me back to the low demand for professional space according to the city's commercial centers by corridors chart. The area surrounding this property ranks second to last in the projected demand for professional space. This indicates the city's desire for more commercial office space in this location is not in line with the actual demand. Given this lack of demand, continuing to enforce the professional zoning is just not justifiable. Instead, rezoning to RML would allow the property to be developed in a way that aligns with both the current needs of the community and the original intentions. All right. So if I want to read something that's not on my PowerPoint presentation, do I need to put it on the,
You can do it either way.
okay. Well, I'm just going to put the big map up so you can kind of have the visual image of the site whenever I'm going through.
Perhaps Mr. Heller can assist with getting the equipment working.
This is the only one. If we could just put 4 up, because I'm going to go through line by line. I kind of like OCD'd it.
Oh, you
And-
don't have to put that, you can just read
Okay.
it. Do you need anything on the projector?
Well, I was going to put it there so people, but I don't know what it's,
No, you can just read it.
Okay. my nerves are starting to calm down a little bit.
You're doing great. Just,
I'm
take
not
your
a great
time
po-
and just, everybody gets nerves the first time they come in here.
It's kind of intimidating. All right, so their response to dig further into the number 4 standard on the Planning Division case report, whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need for a broader public purpose. So I'm really taking that to heart when I'm reading that sentence and what it actually entails and what that means for the community. So this site has sat vacant since it was rezoned to professional back in 2007. The rezone to RML would allow these properties to develop faster, putting the homes and taxes on the tax roll much sooner. Given that the city's documented deficiency in commercial lands, it would not be within the public's best interest to rezone these commercial lands to RML. This site is nearly an acre, has utilities, and is located on a major street, making it suitable for professional use. The updated housing shows we no longer have substantial shortage in multifamily housing. The existing P zoning will be comparable with the surrounding sites as a couple office-related use exists in the block. Rezoning this property site to RML may lead to the development of 4 duplexes, which would result in multiple curb cuts along the country club curb. So that was their response to the rezoning letter. So I just want to reiterate, before I go on, that it's not an individual site. So it's kind of misleading whenever you're reading this. So it is 13006 Country Club Boulevard, which is a 15,000 square foot property. And then the other strap is 1224 Country Club Boulevard, and that one is a 25,000 square foot property. So in total, 1306 is 0.344 acres, and the other one, 1224 Country Club Boulevard, is 0.5739 acres. So individually, these are 2 separate properties. When I had initially started to make this application, I had these separated as 2 separate applications, and I was advised by Mr. Struve, is that how you pronounce it? I was advised by him to consolidate these into 1 application. So whenever it's saying it's equating to the 0.92 acres, that statement is not correct. I just wanted to put that out there before I go any further, so you guys are in line with what I'm. So my response to some of these zoning and development concerns from the Planning Division case report, while the city's statement argues that the property should remain professional zoning to avoid multiple curb cuts and accommodate commercial traffic, this argument overlooks key considerations in the Cape Coral Land Development Code in the comprehensive plan, as well as the residential nature of the surrounding area. First, the claim that RML zoning would result in multiple curb cuts is misleading. Under RML, the residential access is typically a minimum of 9-foot wide driveway per unit, section 6.23, diagram 6.233, which is more than sufficient to handle the residential traffic. In contrast, the commercial zoning requires two 20-foot minimum unobstructed with access for property to accommodate fire trucks and large vehicles, often resulting in multiple curb cuts and an increase in traffic flow that will also require a traffic study. We have no problem in implementing our plan to condition as a condition of a rezone to utilize section 6.1.6 common driveways, shared parking, and commercial property, and off-site parking to reduce the number, I'm just notating what the entire code was, but for commercial property, this curb reduction cannot be attained because of the need for truck and emergency vehicles access. As a reminder, these are 2 lots resulting in a minimum of 80 foot of curb to accommodate fire and vehicle parking, and that would be for commercial because you would have to have your in access and your out access because you don't have enough to get the fire truck the whole way in and accommodate parking because the one strap is only 15,000 square feet. So you need 2 separate entrances because you wouldn't be able to accommodate parking to facilitate the need of the parking for the building. Again, these are 2 separate straps. Additionally, this area is primarily residential with duplexes surrounding the property on all sides like we see on the screen. Northwest, east, south, many of which these have existed for over 30 years. Commercial property would increase taxes of all the residents in the community. The standard for this category is whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or broader public purpose. It does not serve the community to raise the residents' taxes. The property is not integrated into a professional corridor, but is rather surrounded by established residential neighborhood, making RML the appropriate zoning to maintain consistency and ensure development that aligns with the surrounding environment. Therefore, the proposed RML zoning would be a natural extension of this environment and would not necessitate multiple curb cuts or disrupt the established residential flow. So I live in Keats, so we actually came up and I drove around. I sat on the property and I watched the traffic flow in the area, and with the increase of traffic and the angle that those fire trucks would have to go in to each one of those separate sites, the straps, I would assume that those openings would actually have to be 24 feet just because of the angle that the truck would need to make that corner. Because I drive a big truck. So I tried to get my truck in there and I was maneuvering, and so that would, not only would it be 80 foot of curb cuts, that would be 80, an additional 88, 90, 94. And our curb cuts for residential properties would be 72. So the line where it says that more curb cuts would be needed is incorrect. Okay, breathe. Furthermore, the concern about the city's deficiency in commercial land is not directly relevant to the site. The property, as previously stated, has been vacant since rezoning in 2007, yet has continued to remain predominantly residential with low demand for professional or commercial spaces as evidenced. Oh, I already read that part, sorry.
It's okay, take your time.
I was there. I got sidetracked. So the corridors here, again, whenever they're referencing, the main corridor is above this picture. So Nicholas Parkway is the main corridor. And I've seen a lot of buildings there that were also vacant. And literally right next to this property, there's a huge monstrosity of a building. And we actually talked to the neighbors in the area, and we took our own photographs. There was nobody there the entire time that we were here in town. And also the neighbors that reside next to it, they said that nobody is ever there. That somebody was literally there eating their lunch because there's shade there. So, okay. Okay, so another thing was, the future land use amendment, let's see. This is the future land use amendment that will be coming out. I'm not entirely sure on when do you guys reissue that?
He's not allowed to testify.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I can't ask
Okay,
questions.
But it does have 2050 as a caption on the left-hand one.
So the future land use would be for MX, which is consistent with the RML as far as what the standards are and the land uses under the chart. You can essentially do the same amount of home businesses, offices, out of home off. I've seen a lot of people that were running their businesses right out of their houses. Or it could be set up to be a business that is run out of their home. Okay. So the other thing on the city's I just want to kind of get off the beaten path. I might want to put this last. So the city has said that they have no need for the updated. What line is it at? It says, given the the updated housing survey shows that we are no longer have substantial shortage in multifamily housing. So whenever I went to the website of Cape Coral, Cape Coral boasts affordable housing through Live Local Act, which states that they're trying to address the housing shortages. So in the same sentence that they're saying that there's not a housing shortage, on the website, it's saying there is a housing shortage. So I just want to reiterate that. It was kind of like I seen it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring it up. So that claim was also not. I don't think that it's applicable to this case. So the future land use amendment from Lee County affirms that the majority of the surrounding properties are zoned RML, and the future land use is designated as MX, which promotes mixed use and residential development. Reverting it to the RML is fully aligned with the broader plan and will allow faster developments that puts home and tax revenue back in the city's rolls, just as effectively as professional spaces, but in a manner well-suited to the existing neighborhood character and aesthetic. And their tax bracket, because I looked at some of the tax rolls for the professional building, and once you put those types of building there, it's going to increase everybody's taxes. So the assertion that P zoning is necessary due to its incompatibility with office-related uses in the area is also not a valid argument. RML does not preclude professional uses. It allows for small office-related uses while maintaining a residential feel, thus supporting mixed-use development without disrupting the residential integrity of the block. The current zoning P, which has no open space requirements, which is really, I mean, there's no I looked at the code, I didn't bring it up here, but there's no open space requirements, which is really extremely bad for that area. It would increase environmental degradation, particularly affecting the burrowing owl population, and stormwater retention issues that are better addressed by leaving this area in the RML zoning, because we can do swales on site and retain our own stormwater instead of it flowing out into the city streets. The RML designation provides an opportunity for greener, more sustainable development that would incorporate homes with less impervious area, thereby minimizing the ecological and environmental impacts that would likely result from a commercial development and noise pollution. All the sides of the property are all residents. All of these are duplexes. Some of these are multifamily. The ones in pink are multifamily. Okay. So lastly, the commercial development under P zoning would not be incompatible with existing residential neighborhood, but it would also exacerbate traffic congestion and environmental concerns, such as increased curb cuts and loss of green space that the city needs. The RML zoning, in contrast, maintains quiet residential nature in the area while still allowing for some professional uses, making it more suitable and sustainable option for the property. The land is ideally situated for RML development with utilities already in place, a location on a major street that can handle anticipated traffic from a modest home development, residential, but not heavy commercial traffic that the P zoning would invite to that neighborhood and take it away from Nicholas Parkway. When I drove around this area, I was like appalled by how much traffic and congestion is actually in this area. And to add that weight to this residential area would be a strain on traffic. So I feel that rezoning to RML is in the best interest of the city, aligning with the comprehensive plan, respecting the established neighborhood fabric while addressing environmental concerns, all while still allowing the necessary professional uses that RML would allow. This approach would lead to faster, more sustainable development and avoid potential negative impacts of commercial development in a primarily residential area. So I feel like the city's lack of professional commercial space should not unduly limit property rights or hinder reasonable development that aligns with surrounding zoning districts in the comprehensive plan. The zoning to RML better aligns with the broader planning and community needs. This change back would be a positive step for Cape Coral's long-term development strategy. So we would appeal to magistrate. Is it Your Honor or?
Either way is fine.
Okay. Well, Your Honor.
You're fine.
We appeal to Your Honor for a deck action for relief from the city for alienating our property. I'm just going to kind of go through these slides and make sure I didn't forget anything. I think we touched base on the majority of this. Does staff read all of the review and read the presentation prior to the session, the court session?
I don't know what staff does before the session. I would assume so.
Does Your Honor read the entire?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you got the gist of everything.
But this is your opportunity to present your slides, so,
Okay.
I mean, please feel free to do so. I think maybe there were some slides at the end that you didn't go through.
Okay.
Maybe.
Is anyone else allowed to come up with me?
I'm sorry?
Is Andrew, this is his property. Is he allowed to stand?
He's allowed to speak after you're done.
Okay.
We do one person at a time. But yeah, you might want to go through the rest of your slides to make sure they're incorporated into your presentation.
Oh, yeah. So it is far less impactful also than this site could actually be developed into 14 units if these straps were combined. So that would also put a strain on that community. The ramification and traffic impacts would be immense in that area. So the precedent for reversion, the change in RML 2P was done without the owner's knowledge. And I don't feel like it's serving, this statement says whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or a broader public purpose. So when I'm interpreting that, I'm feeling like if you're raising people's taxes, if you're creating more traffic, more noise pollution, more stormwater in their area, you're not serving a better public interest. And if you're raising their taxes, they're breaking the bank at the same time, and they're not gonna be able to afford to remain in the area. And a lot of these people on the tax bracket that own the duplexes, that's their bread and butter. So they're gonna be there for the next 30 years. So I don't think it's, and actually the owner, he has built properties in that area. So three of the houses on the other side of there, he actually had built those houses, the nice ones. So, reverting to RML would, the city should not maintain a zoning classification that is not disconnected from the surrounding residential character of this area. Again, this is off of Nicholas Parkway is here, and this is on Country Club Boulevard, which is, I drove through there, everything is residential besides the 2N on the main corridors. So I feel like this would correct the inconsistency and align the property with the community's long-standing development patterns and the city's broader housing goals. Because again, on the website, it says you guys are starting, you have a housing problem. So again, this chart here, just so everyone is aware, the main commercial corridors, and this area is the gray part on the left map over there. I have an arrow going out. That's an industrial park. So I feel like this would be serving the purpose of this area better. These people are able, like I brought my bicycle with me, and the commute on a bicycle and you're creating less traffic to have residential housing in this area. These people could bike to their places of employment, which that industrial park is right there, that gray area that you see there. And it would serve to, they could also get on the bus line there, and it would prevent less traffic, which you guys have a lot of congestion around here.
I think we can all agree on the congestion, yeah.
Yes. Well, we have one road, I'm from the Keys, so we have like one road, and that's it. So if you're stuck, you're stuck. Let me just make sure. This is the first time I'm ever doing this too, by the way.
You're doing fine, keep
Okay.
going. Don't be nervous, like, everybody's nervous when they come in the first time, even staff, when first time they come in.
Yeah, so the community need for accessible housing, that was what you guys had on your website. This was February 3rd, 2025. So literally like less than a month ago. So the area is located near Industrial Park bus line, making it an ideal location for affordable housing for the local workforce, or making it a housing, any type of housing. Rezoning to RML would help meet the increasing demand for multifamily housing in the region while reducing traffic impacts, offering easy access in public transportation by enabling the construction of duplexes or housing. The rezoning would support housing for local workers to help address need for residential spaces in a location that is already well connected to employment opportunities. RML would also allow for small businesses, again, to contribute to the economic vibrancy of the area, which that's still growth. Any growth is growth. So, I think feel like I'm going to sit down and I'm going to forget something.
This is your presentation. You
Okay.
present however you feel is appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, so there actually is another property on this, the docket for today. Is that called the docket? The
On the
list?
docket, yep.
Okay. So the one after us, they actually,
We can't talk about
Okay.
that, I'm sorry.
but the,
Each hearing is individual, I'm sorry.
we are surrounded by residents. Like, these are all residential. So I just feel like it would look hideous too if you would try to put something commercial, because there's this little tiny, there was a book when I was a kid, and all these houses had built up this book, and they had this little tiny bakery, and they were stuck in between these huge buildings, and I feel like that's what you would alienate then the house on the other side of there, because they're stuck in between commercial property, and then you're encroaching on everybody's peace of mind, and I mean, it's a lot. Andrew.
Did you have anything else you wanted to testify to?
I think I've covered everything.
All right, well, you'll have an opportunity before the hearing's over if you want to augment your testimony. But I did, when we started this morning with this hearing, you said you did agree with certain of the
Yes.
elements, and Mr. Heller gave you a piece of paper for you to review. So perhaps this would be a good time for you to tell us which ones you do agree with.
May I go to get mine too? I mean, I guess,
Or you can
do you want me to
that.
read all of the,
You don't have to read Mr. Heller's
okay.
stuff
So
into the record.
whether or not the proposed zoning district is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, we agreed on that. They agreed that it's consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. So I'm just gonna say that again, just because of the comments that were made under that section on their comments. If I could put it up there, that's why I had them next to what I was reading at the same time, because I went line by line. Whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with existing uses in the area under consideration, we were in agreement on that. Whether the range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning districts will be compatible with existing and potential uses in the in the area under construction, we were in agreement. The characteristics of the proposed rezone area suitable for the permitted uses inside the proposed zoning districts, we were in agreement for the change back to the RML, which was initially on the comprehensive plan.
Okay. All right, thank you. And as I indicated, you'll have an opportunity following public comment if you want to augment your comments now. But you said there's someone else on your team that wants to testify?
I believe so. This is the owner, Andrew George.
Sure. you
I
can come
actually
up.
work for Andrew, so he's
Okay.
probably gonna get me a lesson on public speaking when we're done with this.
You did a fine job in your presentation. Come on up, please, sir. Come on up, it's okay. I believe you were sworn in, is that correct?
Yes.
And could you state your name for the, and I'm sorry, ma'am. you
I go
are
away?
Sitting down now, yeah, thank you. All right, could you?
My
state-
name is Andrew George with a G.
Yes, sir, this is your opportunity to testify to whatever you wish, since you are the applicant. rep.
Basically, I'm just going to keep it very short. That we are not here to ask for any variation or deviation from the current LDRs of the city hall. I bought this property close to 30 years ago, 27 years ago. I bought the strip on Country Club. I developed 3 or 4 duplexes, and I left this 4 properties for my retirement. My plan was to build 4 duplexes and live on one and rent the other 7 out. And I'm turning 62, so I'm getting ready to retire, and my plan is kind of shattered. when I bought this property, I think that, and I think most landowners have a reasonable expectation that when you buy a residential property or commercial property, the city or the county or state won't just arbitrarily change it. And like Leslie said, this is actually two different parcels. Originally, we were going to apply as two different applications, and Mike and Mr. Justin said, no, just apply as one. So it looks like a 1 acre property, but it's really not. It's actually 15,000 and 25,000. And my other concern is, if you look at it, on all 4 sides of my property, east, south, north, south, east, and west, is duplexes. And I had this property listed almost 6 years or something like that since it was zoned professional. So I didn't want to go through this. I just thought, okay, I'll sell it, I'll buy somewhere else. And I don't have any calls at all. I mean, I have the realtor sitting here. He had this listing for 4 years. And the only call I got, like off the sign, somebody called and they wanted to build a bar, like a restaurant bar, it's like a sports bar there, and they went away. But my point is, I mean, that's not a good use of that land because of, you got residential kids staying there. You don't want residentials. You don't want a restaurant or bar in the middle of a residential area. And yesterday when I came back, we drove around. There's a 2-story professional building. It's vacant. There's nobody there. I took pictures. If Your Honor wants to see it, I can show it to you. There's nobody there. Actually, I talked to a lot of realtors in town. There's not a whole lot of demand for a professional building. Maybe commercial, but not professional. And the way I look at it is that by city converting the multifamily into professional, it's hurting me financially. I cannot sell it. I mean, I don't get any calls. About a year ago, I got an offer from a large company here called BGM Consulting for like $450,000. I was happy. I was going to take it. Then they found out it was professional, so they withdraw the offer. So right now, I'm basically sitting on and paying taxes for almost 27, 30 years for a property I cannot use, I cannot sell. And also, Your Honor, I'm a planning commissioner in city of Marathon, Monroe County. So when we make any decisions like this, especially if it's going to hurt the individual, normally the council will decide to give them an offer to purchase the property. I mean, and obviously, like, nobody reached out to me, but so this property is worthless, and I think there's another applicant coming next behind me has the same scenario, and it's costing us a lot of financial harm. Especially, I just turned 62. I'm about to retire, and my dream is shattered. Basically, I can't build what I planned on doing 25 years ago. So I ask you, please approve the zoning. And I think originally when we talked to Mike and Justin, they both said it should not have any problem approving it. And so I was surprised when they actually denied it because of the council's wants more professional or whatever. And this is kind of like one of the things I say, it's not eminent domain, but it's kind of like what city is doing is eminent domain. Basically take my property and making it worthless, and I can't do anything. And I have to pay taxes, which is fine, I'm paying taxes, but it just waste of land. There's a lot of demand for residential. If I build 4 duplexes, city will actually make more money on taxes. So that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your volunteer service for the city of Marathon.
Oh, thank you.
All right, is the gentleman with you planning on testifying as part of your team? or- Okay.
No,
thank-
he's just a realtor, that's all. Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much, all right? Mr. Heller, you're up, thank you.
All right, Justin Heller, Senior Planner with the Cape Coral Planning Division. This is rezone 24-5. And the applicants are requesting a rezone at 1224 Country Club Boulevard and 1306 Country Club Boulevard. Rezone is from professional office to multi-family low, or RML. The combined area of both sites is 0.92 acres. The parcels are undeveloped. The site's in the middle of the block, frontage along Country Club Boulevard. The site has a mixed-use future land use classification with professional office zoning. The zoning history and future land use history. In 2003, the future land use for the site was amended from multifamily to mixed use by ordinance 62-03. In 2007, the city rezoned a portion of the block from multifamily residential R3 to professional office P1 by ordinance 147-07. Here's the aerial of the site. And we have the proposed and existing zoning maps. All right, so we analyze this under section 3.4.6. We have 6 standards. The first standard, we find that is consistent with Comprehensive Plan Policy 1.15 and Comprehensive Plan Policy 1.15E. So staff finds that this standard has been met. Standard 2, staff finds surrounding uses are primarily duplexes and multifamily housing. There is a senior living facility on the south end of the block and commercial office buildings on the north end of the block. The surrounding properties do share similar uses to the proposed RML zoning. So the full range of uses in the RML district should be compatible with the existing uses in the area, and staff did find that standard 2 was also met. Standard 3, staff finds the permitted uses in RML zoning district are identical to those allowed on parcels to the immediate south, east, west, and will likely be less intense than potential uses allowed on P-zone parcels to the north, and we found that that standard was met. Standard 4, given this is the one standard that we're not in agreement with. Standard 4, whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or broader public purpose. So given the city's documented deficiency in commercial lands, we found it would not be in the public interest to rezone these commercial lands to RML. The combined site area is close to an acre, has utilities, and located on a major street, and it does make it a suitable site for office use. Our updated housing survey showed we no longer have a substantial shortage in multifamily housing. That's different than affordable housing. Rezoning the site to RML may lead to development of 4 duplexes, which the applicant has indicated that that's what they would like to put there. This would result in multiple driveway cuts along Country Club Boulevard. Duplexes can have 1 to 2 driveway cuts per duplex, whereas a commercial site may have 1 or 2 for the whole site. So staff found that this standard was not met. Standard 5, staff found this standard was met. The site meets the minimum lot area requirements. and the area is suitable for most uses in the RML district. Standard 6, R1 would be considered a zoning district with potential fewer or less impacts. However, that would create spot zoning. So we found that this standard is met. Staff's recommendation, we found it met 5 of our standards, but did not meet 1 standard, and we recommend denial of the rezone requests. I did not receive any correspondence pertaining to this, and I will stand by if you have any questions.
I have no questions, thank you. This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing no members of the public so desiring, I'm going to close the public comment section of the public hearing, bring it back to the applicant's representative. Any of the representatives are welcome to come forward, but please do come forward, somebody. This is your opportunity to address anything that Mr. Heller has said, if you so choose, or present additional testimony if you so choose.
So I feel like the city, since this was originally RML, that the city should not use this arbitrary change to alienate the property from its intentional residential use on the land development plan. And also, it's misleading because this property is 2 separate straps. They're not a unified parcel. So there's 2 separate. So I feel like it would be more impactful along as far as the curb cuts and everything else to do that type of property. And again, everything around it is entirely residential. So that's all.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right. Mr. Heller, anything else? Did you want to incorporate your staff report into your presentation today?
Yes, I would like to incorporate my staff report into my presentation. Again, the size that I used was just based off of the application, so both parcels were combined in the size on the presentation and staff report. You could develop more than 1 commercial use out there if you kept the parcels separate, but it makes it more challenging once you get, under a certain size to meet your stormwater and landscaping and parking requirements. So most people would strap those 2 together to be able to have enough space to put a use on there, commercial use. RML, the applicant stated that RML does allow office type uses. It does not. You can have a home-based business in residential. Maybe that's what they were referring to. I just wanted to clarify that. Let's see here. Again, we found that, the parcels are viable for commercial uses, professional office, and the city does want to preserve as much commercial land that they have available, and that is why staff is recommending a denial of the rezone back to RML. So that is all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. And I will take all the testimony today under advisement and render a recommendation as quickly as possible. This does go in front of the City Council for final determination. It is not my final determination. So with those comments, we're going to go ahead and close that hearing. And Madam Clerk, if you could call the next hearing. Thank you.
Case number RZN 24-000008, address 1207 Southeast 8th Place. Applicant Gasparilla Investments LLC. The owner has requested rezoning Unit 22, Block 809, lots 1 through 7, located at 1207 Southeast 8th Place, from the Professional P zoning district to the Residential Multifamily Low RML zoning district for 1 parcel totaling approximately 34,863 square feet or 0.8 acres. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. White.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Patrick Carlton White, Cape Coral Planning Department, Senior Planner downstairs. At this point in time, I'd like to acknowledge this case was duly advertised. We put an ad in the newspaper, we posted signage on the property, and we mailed to everyone within 500 feet.
I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. I see Mr. Mazurkowitz on the on-deck circle. Come forward, please, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner Joe Mazurkowitz, President of BJM Consulting, here on behalf of the owners of 1207 Southeast 8th Place. Madam Hearing Examiner, I respectfully request to be considered an expert witness based on previous appearances in this venue and my earlier submitted CV.
I will find you as an expert based upon your testimony regarding matters similar to the issues in front of us today in this venue, as you called it, and also based upon your CV, which has been previously presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Today we're here representing Gasparilla Investments LLC, the owners of the parcel land located in Southeast Cape Coral. The address is 1207 Southeast 8th Place. This is our opportunity and offering to change the zoning to multifamily RML. The site fronts on Southeast 8th Place, is across the street from City Hall complex, with the Mid-Cape Industrial Park, Cape Coral Hospital in the area. With so many employers in the area, it makes this parcel a great site for workforce housing. The present land use MX, mixed use, and the existing zoning P, professional. The site is approximately 34,863 square foot, about 8/10 of an acre, with 295 footage and 125-foot depth. It's currently serviced by all three Cape Coral utilities, and the site will allow 12 units of workforce multifamily housing. We are requesting the change of the entire site from P professional to RML multifamily 16 units. This parcel is eastern end of Block 809, the intersection of 8th Place and Nichols Parkway. Madam Hearing Examiner, we've heard this many times before. This parcel is part of the notorious city centrum that happened in the mid portion of the first decade of this century. It is a failed experiment, one that I supported, by the way, at the time, was hoping that the market would react to it, and it never did. The city many years ago rezoned approximately 75 acres to commercial professional, thinking professional medical entities would gravitate to location close to City Hall and other public institutions. Unfortunately, city centrum did not happen. The city's failed attempt to encourage a course of development that ran contrary to the needs of the free market have been reversed little by little, and to the point where only 2 to 3 acres have been actually developed in the manner that the city architects had envisioned. The rest of the city centrum area has been slowly developed with low-density multifamily structures similar to what's proposing for the subject property. The needs of the marketplace have prevailed over the dictates of the city planners. I want to say that again. The needs of the marketplace have prevailed over the dictates of the city planners. Here's why. With the 1 mile radius of the subject property, sits the following facilities with a total daily employment in excess of 6,000 employees: Cape Coral City Hall, Cape Coral Police Headquarters, Lee County Annex, Lee County Post Office, Cape Coral Main Post Office Facility, Cape Coral Hospital and Physicians Offices, Calusa Elementary, Calusa Middle School, and Cape Coral Industrial Park. During the past 10 years, office developments have located in areas more desirable to developers and more assembled to the people who frequent such offices. Specifically, especially parking requirements, adequate parking ratios for building square footage leave little space available to squeeze a usable professional building on a standard building, Cape Coral building site at only 125-foot depth. This is shown by one of the professional office buildings built adjacent to this on Country Club. They actually had to raise the building and make the first floor parking. The ground floor is all parking. This parcel has RML zoning to the south, professional to the east, and west with commercial to the north. But specifically, this parcel is a natural extension from the RML to the south, moving north along Southeast 8th. Reviewing the application with the review criteria, we submit the following. The proposed RML zoning is consistent with the property's MX mixed-use land use and is less than the required 1 acre necessary for RMM zoning as required by the LDCs, making RML as the better choice for this parcel. The full range of uses in RML zoning are compatible with the existing and potential uses in the surrounding area. The location of this parcel makes it a great site for workforce housing, as alluded to earlier, by the amount of jobs in the area. and makes it complete access to the asset to the existing and potential users to the area. The requested RML zoning will serve the community's need to provide attainable workforce housing, not multifamily housing. We do have a lot of multifamily housing that's come on recently in the city of Cape Coral. This is workforce housing. This is a maximum of a 12-unit condo without a lot of amenities. This is for people who will work immediately in the adjacent areas. Workforce housing, which the city has identified a need for. The requested RML zoning will allow the development that fits in with the characteristics of the area and the multifamily residential units to the south. Other zoning districts allowed in MX mixed-use land use would create additional impacts on the surrounding area. Other than the other allowed zonings will create a larger impact to the adjoining infrastructure. It will not fit in as well to the many existing multifamily developments in the neighborhood. Based on the submitted information showing our favorable responses to all 6 review criteria, we respectfully request for a positive response to the city's, for this rezoning request, from the city for this rezoning request. First of all, we've read the staff report. We agree with most of it. It is very fair. The staff report pretty much shows that this could go either way. When land use on a plan, a professional planner says it could go either way, you depend on the market to determine what has happened, what's going to happen. And the marketplace here is multifamily. It has been this way since the mid-2000s. There's been an attempt to sell all that time, and there has been no interested buyers. There is no market for professional on this piece of property. For all practical purposes, we accept the staff's report with the exception of their recommendation. The city and City Centrum has held this land and its owners hostage for 20 years. It's time to let them be free to do what the property highest and best use can be and change it to RML. We respectfully request a recommendation to approve to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazurkowitz. Mr. White, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Hearing Examiner, I would like to request to be recognized as an expert witness based on my CV downstairs and prior testimony, like cases like this.
I will find you as an expert based upon your prior testimony regarding issues that are similar to the issues presented by this hearing, and also based upon your CV, which is of record. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to I would ask that you also incorporate my staff report into this presentation. I then have a brief PowerPoint presentation.
I will so incorporate. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. As Joe mentioned, the owner of this property is Gasparilla Investments, LLC. Dr. Mazurkowitz from BGM Consulting is their authorized rep. The property is addressed at 1207 Southeast 8th Place, and the owner is requesting a rezoning from the professional zoning district to the RML district on this property, a little under an acre in size. It's depicted here on an aerial map, and I've indicated with a little yellow dot where it is in the city. It's in the City Hall area. It's right down the street.
I believe he referred to it as a notorious area.
I wouldn't call it that myself. However, nonetheless, these 2 PowerPoint slides depict the future land use map and the current zoning map of the property. Note there's a variety of different zoning designations in this particular area. If approved, this rezoning would change the property to RML, which I've depicted on the map on the right. The property, as I mentioned, is a little under an acre. It's currently vacant, has frontage on 2 roads, Nicholas Parkway, which is a minor arterial, and Southeast 8th, a local road. In 2003, the commercial professional future land use change was amended to mixed use. 7 lots have together been zoned professional since about 1990. The property is near multiple governmental facilities, the Cape Coral Hospital, the Vizcaya Industrial Park. There is existing office development located northeast and west of this particular site. There are multiple properties in the area that are improved with duplexes or small apartment buildings. And you can just get a little better look there at the property and what's in the immediate area. So when we are evaluating a rezoning like this, we have a couple different standards. Standard 1 asks whether the proposed zoning district is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. And staff did find that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the mixed-use future land use classification, as is its current zoning designation of professional. Criteria 2 asks whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed rezoning will be compatible with the existing uses in the area. And staff found that the area east and west of the site has professional zoning. They're developed with office uses. The property to the north is zoned commercial and it's improved with government complex. And the property to the south are zoned RML and are largely improved with duplexes with a handful of small apartment buildings. The larger area is mostly developed with more offices, more duplexes, and some larger employers such as the hospital and the Sky Industrial Park. And I would also note, based on the prevalence of the low-density residential development in the area, the proposed RML district would be compatible with the existing uses in the area. And that criteria 3 asks whether the range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with existing and potential future uses in the area under consideration. And staff found that the vacant properties within 500 feet of the rezone area are zoned either RML or P, and they have a mixed-use future land use classification. Those sites like this one are about an acre in size or under, and typically some of them encompassing only 2 or 3 lots. The future development on those lots is likely to be small in scale and based on the modest size of those properties. The proposed RML district allows multifamily development up to 16 units an acre. This particular property could support a maximum of 12 dwelling units on a site, which would be consistent with future development in the area that is likely to be kind of lower in density and intensity. Criteria 4 asks whether the proposed zoning district serves a a broader public purpose or a community need. And staff notes that the proposed rezoning could result in the development of workforce housing as suggested by the applicant's letter of intent. That term, workforce housing, is not defined in the letter. It's sometimes confused with affordable housing. Housing affordable remains a significant concern to the city, but there's no guarantee that this property ultimately gets developed that way, as we cannot condition a rezoning. The city also has identified a significant need for additional non-residential development to provide employment opportunities and improve the non-residential tax base. The existing professional zoning guarantees some sort of non-residential development on the property, but at a date unknown. So while a residential project could provide affordable housing and it could serve a community need, we can't condition this rezoning to do that. Because the city has a documented deficiency in commercial lands, we are not expecting this to serve a broader public purpose when compared to the existing professional zoning, which supports the opportunity for that new commercial development. Criteria 5 asks whether the characteristics of the proposed rezone are suitable for the uses. The site does exceed the minimum lot area requirement of 10,000 square feet for an RML district or an RML zoning designation. The area of the site, along with the presence of central utilities, allows the property to be used for most uses in the RML zoning district or the professional zoning district. And criteria 6 asks whether a rezoning district other than that requested would create fewer potential adverse impacts. The existing P district, unlike the RML, does not allow residential development. It allows office and several lower traffic generating uses. The proposed RML and the existing P generally allow lesser intrusive uses than our other non-residential or mixed-use zoning districts. Both zoning districts are considered appropriate to use as a transition between an R1 and a commercial district. Lastly, I contacted the fire department and the police department to see if they had any concerns with the proposed rezoning. Their reports back indicated minor to negligible impacts on those services. Staff also looked at this request respect to other elements in the comprehensive plan, and did find the RML consistent with the future land use classification of mixed use, and did find the proposed zoning district is consistent with the maximum intensity because it would allow up to 16 dwelling units an acre, which is below the maximum allowed with a district of this size. It is also compliant with policy 8.5, but both of the zoning districts are. Those talk about transitions in the city. And it also, I found this housing element goal to provide good quality housing in safe, clean neighborhoods, offering a broad choice of options in both type, single-family and multifamily, and tenure, owner, and renter occupied to meet the needs of the present and future residents of the city, regardless of age or income status. And I found that this rezoning was supported by that policy. Concluding, the city's deficient in both non-residential development opportunities and housing options, especially those that meet any of affordability considerations. One of the reasons this area was designated professional was to provide the opportunity for businesses ancillary to government uses, such as engineering offices, attorneys, to develop. And while the site is suitable for both RML zoning and P zoning, a more critical public interest is realized if the zoning of the site remains professional, based on large part of the scarcity of non-residential lands in the city. And staff is recommending denial of the application, and I will stand by for your questions, and I thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. I do have a question. You've heard the applicant's representative testify that in his opinion, and he used his hands to illustrate that the staff report indicates that it could go, that the decision is a close one, that it could go either way. And if that is true, then he believes good planning principles dictate that marketing makes the call, whether it goes one way or the other. So my question is, if I've properly captured Mr. Mazurkowicz's thought, my question is, first, do you agree with his premise regarding your staff report and your presentation? And if you do agree with his premise, do you agree that the marketplace calls the question?
I don't. No, I think that one of the duties of the city planning department is, one of the things we're thinking about is long-term, and we need to preserve some of the properties that we have for future commercial growth, even if that means it remains vacant for a period of time until that demand rises to meet that level. So I can't agree with him on that.
All right, I have no other questions.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the applicant's representative, Mr. Mazurkowicz. Do you wish to provide any further testimony or comment upon my question?
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Joe Mazurkowicz, on behalf of the applicant again. First of all, I'd like to take some exception with the presentation, and I forgot to mention this in my initial remarks. I apologize. The site has no frontage on Nicholas. It has a side lot line on Nicholas. That's not frontage. There's no access available to Nicholas. It makes it sound like it's more attractive to non-residential development by saying that, but it's not. And just a piece, while it's professional across the street going to the west, one of the two lots that are developed immediately across the street to the west, one is a professional, one's zone professional, but it's a duplex. So the use is multifamily. The other thing I want to talk about and just reply to is the workforce housing versus professional. And from a planning standpoint, it takes more than the city identifying something as non-residential to make it non-residential. I could go sit in my garage and say I'm a car, using a reference that a council member used at the last meeting. It doesn't make me an automobile. I'm still a human being. By the city putting a P on this property doesn't make it professional. It's been that for 20 years. The market hasn't absorbed it. This has happened over and over again in the city of Cape Coral. I tried it. Huge tracts of land between the areas of Coral Point Shopping Center and the Coralwood Mall. A mile back, we made that all commercial when we adopted the original comp plan. It never reacted. The market never reacted to that. We went back in and afterwards, councils after I left, changed it back to residential because that's where the market was for it. The area just at the southeast southeast corner of the intersection of Pine Island Road and Pondella. Had huge amounts, nobility is what it's known for by the old timers, was all changed to commercial professional. The market never reacted. No one went in, assembled the property, tore down the residential, and wanted to make it available for commercial. That was the city placing commercial professional on the map for that whole area. It never happened. So what did future city councils do? They reacted to market and made the realization that they don't have the authority or the power to control the market. They don't like that. I understand they don't like that. But that's not the way it goes. The market controls land use. It always has, it always will. You could take big areas of the city of Cape Coral and make them non-residential. It doesn't make us more applicable or more in line with other communities because we just automatically bless something as commercial. If the market doesn't react to it as a potential non-residential development area, it's never going to happen. All you do is take people's property rights. You have people paying property taxes year after year after year on a piece of property that is not available to the market, and they can't use it for what the available use of the market is. You're taking away people's property rights. It's like an inverse condemnation. Just because the city puts something on the map doesn't make it so. The market's got to agree with what the city is doing. And when it does, you have very successful non-residential development. Pine Island Road is a perfect example of that. Mixed with multifamily, because rooftops drive non-residential. I take umbrage and disagree completely with the city's planner on the fact that market does not drive land use. It certainly does. This is a perfect example. It's been sitting there useless for 20 years. What is a reasonable time to take away someone's ability to use their property? Once again, we respectfully request a recommendation for approval.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. White, any further comments? You're not required to respond, but you certainly can.
I just have one thing to add. You know, and it's about those cities, the state's Live Local Act. The state has enacted this act. It allows a developer to provide affordable housing and stack that on top for example, a property like this might have professional office on the first floor and then affordable housing on the top 2 floors. They're able to do that. It's an option for them on the table. They are instead electing to make this request to the RML zoning district. And with that little asterisk, I don't have anything else to add. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you for your additional comments. I will take all the comments under consideration. I will attempt to get my recommendation out as quickly as possible. And with all rezoning cases, the ultimate decision is the City of Cape Coral, not the hearing examiner. With those comments, I'm closing this hearing. Madam Clerk, would you please call the next hearing? Thank you.
Case number RZN 24-000010, address 1466 to 1470 Southwest 5th Street. Applicant, Avalon Engineering Incorporated. The applicant, Hungry Catfish Farms LLC, has requested a rezoning amendment for 2 parcels of property at 1466 and 1470 Southwest 5th Street, Cape Coral, Florida 33991. The amendment requested is to change the current zoning for the properties from residential multifamily low RML to commercial C. The applicant is requesting this change to the zoning to occur on the property so that they may combine the property with adjacent commercial property and develop a commercial use. The change would be for 2 parcels measuring approximately 20,625 square feet or 0.47 acres and would not change the zoning classifications of adjacent properties. Staff has recommended approval of the zoning amendment as it is consistent with the purpose and requirements for amending zoning as well as the guidelines and policies of the comprehensive plan. Any persons giving testimony today, if you are able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Anthony Santora, Senior Planner, Development Services. My credentials are on file with the City Clerk's Office. In regards to notice for this case, Written notice was mailed to all property owners within 500 feet of the subject properties. A ad was also placed in a local newspaper of record advertising the hearing date and time, as well as a sign posted on the subject properties providing the hearing notifications.
I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Santoro. I will find the proper notice was given. Thank you. All right. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning. Linda Miller, Vice President of Avalon Engineering, and the certified planner for this rezoning case, RZN 2410. I'm requesting to be recognized as an expert witness. My credentials are on file with the city clerk, and I have previously been recognized as an expert witness in similar cases.
I will find you as an expert for purposes of this hearing based upon your CV, which has been previously supplied, and also based upon your testimony regarding matters which are similar to the issues raised by this hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Avalon Engineering represents the Hungry Catfish Farms LLC. The owners are Dean and Michelle Pulley on this rezoning case. It is an amendment to the City of Cape Coral zoning map for 2 parcels totaling .473 acres, 20,625 square feet from RML Residential Multifamily Low to Commercial Zoning District. The parcels are south of Southwest 5th Street. They're east of Chiquita Boulevard. South, consisting of lots 49 through 52 and block 3661 in section 15, township 44 south and range 23 east. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. The subject parcel has a future land use designation of commercial professional. The future land use was amended by Ordinance 69-24 in October of last year. The parcels are located adjacent to 3 other parcels with a future land use designation of commercial professional, which are owned by Hungry Catfish Farms LLC. And those are just west of our site to Chiquita Boulevard. Upon approval of this map amendment, the parcels will be combined to provide a 1.33 acre commercial project. The subject parcels are zoned RML, residential multifamily low. The parcels along the southern and western portion of the lake and along Chiquita Boulevard consist of commercial and commercial corridor zoning, which permits a variety of commercial uses. A 1.94 acre flex space development is proposed on lots 1 through 9 and lots 62 through 68 on block 3662 along the same lake. This area of the city is planned to support more intensive uses in the future as the commercial corridor zoning district was expanded north of Pine Island Road. This amendment will support the City of Cape Coral's need for commercial development. There's review criteria that's required in Article 3, Section 3.4.6b. An application for rezoning shall be reviewed in accordance with 6 criteria. The first one is whether the proposed zoning district is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. And I have Table 1 that shows the zoning districts are consistent with and will implement the respective future land use map classification. And as you can see from this chart, the city's commercial zoning district is compatible with the zoning, with the parcel having a future land use of commercial professional. Professional is also consistent, and public a planned development is also consistent. The other 2 compatible zoning districts for the future land use are professional and a PUD, which is a planned unit development. Planned unit developments allow for a tailored development seeking specific uses and reduced dimensional standards from the city's traditional zoning district, such as landscaping buffers and building setbacks. It's also consistent with policy 1.15C, commercial professional. This land use designation will encourage a wide variety of large and small commercial uses. And we feel the subject parcels would support a small commercial use promoting new and growing business space in Cape Coral. It's consistent with policy 2.1. The city shall encourage commercial development where is an effective use of infrastructure and will have adverse effects on adjacent uses. And the nice thing about this particular parcel is it does have infrastructure available to it. It's close to Chiquita Boulevard. It has city water and sewer available. Policy 3.3, the city shall intake and consider privately initiated future land use map amendments necessary to support adequate supply of land designated for retail, office, and services. The subject parcel has the future land use category of commercial professional, and with this zoning will help support new commercial square footage. It's consistent with Policy 5.3. New commercial development shall meet all the requirements for adequate facilities based on the level of service adopted for roads, potable water, sewer, so forth. The level of service within this area is adequate to support the development of the subject parcels. Policy 8.3, commercial development shall be designed to minimize negative effects of surrounding residential uses. The parcels do abut residential uses on the eastern side. There's requirements in the Land Development Code that require buffering of that side. Number 2 for the requirements for the criteria is whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with the existing uses in the area under consideration. Since the area around the subject parcels consists mainly of vacant parcels that are zoned to support a variety of commercial uses, the commercial zoning proposed on this is compatible with the zoning on the adjacent and surrounding parcels. Number 3, whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with the existing and potential uses in the area under consideration. Since most of the undeveloped parcels near the subject parcel are zoned for a variety of commercial uses, the proposed uses within the area of the subject parcel will be consistent with the uses within the city's commercial zoning district being proposed on the subject parcels. The commercial zoning district list of permitted uses will be compatible with the potential uses in the area under consideration. Number 4, whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or broader public purpose. Currently, the parcels are unbuildable. The future land use of the parcel is commercial professional, which is inconsistent with the current residential multifamily low-density zoning. A zoning map amendment is required to bring the future land use and the zoning of the parcels into consistency, which would permit commercial development on the parcels in the future and provide commercial services needed in the Cape. Number 5, the characteristics of the proposed rezoning area are suitable for the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district. The subject parcels have frontage on Southwest 5th Street. The area of Chiquita and Pine Island Road supports industrial, service-type commercial, multifamily, and single-family residential uses. Current development in the area around the subject parcels has consisted of commercial uses along Pine Island Road and a multifamily complex on the north side of Southwest 5th Street. The parcels can be designed for a service-type community use where the use will not impact the residential lots to the east and where proper buffering can be provided. Number 6, whether a zoning district other than the district requested would create fewer potential adverse impacts to existing uses in the surrounding area. In analyzing the best use for the property and the dimensional standards for development in the commercial and professional zoning districts, they have the same minimum building setbacks on the side property lines adjacent to the existing residential lots. The commercial zoning district requires a greater buffer, 10 feet with a 6-foot-high opaque wall, or 20 feet of a green space without a wall, than the city's professional zoning district of 5 feet of green space with no wall. The proposed building and construction with no outdoor storage use is permitted in both the professional and the commercial zoning districts. The commercial zoning district provided greater safeguards to the adjacent residents and wider buffer requirements. The proposed zoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan as provided in the staff report with the applicant's letter of intent and presented in this presentation. We accept the Planning Division staff report and staff's recommendation of approval. Please accept this presentation, the zoning amendment application, the Planning Division staff report, this presentation, and all supporting documents submitted for this case into evidence. And I stand by to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, I have no questions.
Good morning again, Madam Hearing Examiner. For the record, Anthony Santora, Senior Planner, Cape Coral Development Services. My credentials are on file with the City Clerk's Office. Before beginning the presentation, I would ask to be recognized as an expert witness in the fields of planning and urban design based on my qualifications, which are on record with the Clerk's Office, as well as my past testimony on cases similar to this before the Madam Hearing Examiner.
I will find you as an expert in the field that you so designate, or so you request, I should say, based upon your CV, which is on file with the clerk's office, and also based upon your testimony regarding matters that are similar to the issues before us in this hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to request that the staff report be admitted into record, as I will be speaking to it through my presentation.
I will so admit it into the record and incorporate it into your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this case for rezone is brought for us by Hungry Catfish Farms LLC. They are the applicant. This is a privately initiated rezone request. It is for 2 parcels, approximately half an acre, within the transitional area of the city. They are requesting to amend the zoning from the residential multifamily low RML zoning district to the commercial C district. So it's something a little bit unique. We don't have a lot of properties that seek to do this very often. So a little bit of background information on this. The subject parcels are currently vacant, which we will see in the aerial. The surrounding areas are somewhat constructed and developed, specifically the residential areas to the west, the commercial areas to the north, south, residential areas to the east. The commercial areas to the north, south, and west are primarily vacant and undeveloped currently. A little bit of zoning history on the property. It was originally zoned R1B. That was amended in 2019 to RML when the R1B district went away. On the future land use side, the properties were initially classified as SM. This was when it was first created in '89. In 2005, it was amended to the CAC district, and then from there to multifamily in 2017, and then just recently to commercial professional last year through Ordinance 69-24. This rezone is a follow-up amendment to that future land use amendment. So as we've heard, this proposed rezone is to align the zoning with the adjacent properties that the property owner owns and to permit for consolidation and future construction, as well as remediate the inconsistent land use and zoning that currently exists on it due to previous land use amendment. So here we can see the aerial, the subject parcels highlighted in red, fronting along Southwest 5th Street. You can see these 3 are the parcels that the property owner currently owns, and you can see, we'll see the vacant developments primarily to the north, south, and west. And then here we have directly abutting it, the RML district and some light development that is occurring, heavy development of RML and multifamily occurring across the street, and then a residential district far to the east. So here we can see how that lies out with the existing future land use classification. You can see now with the 2 new amended parcels extending further down Southwest 5th Street, the existing RML districts to the north and to the, multifamily land use districts to the east and to the north, as well as the residential farther to the east on the SF district, and then commercial running this portion of the south block of Chiquita and the north block fronting along Chiquita as well, and then the commercial core, the Pine Island Road district, future land use around the other areas. So the current zoning you can see is pretty much reflective of that. The parcels here highlighted in blue, they are the ones being requested to be amended to the C district, which we have here. So as required for all rezoning cases, staff has examined the request and reviewed it in accordance with the criteria listed in section LDC 3.4.6.B.1 through B.6, and staff has found that the requested rezone is consistent with all criteria, and I will go through that criteria now. So the first criteria, B1, is consistency with the city comprehensive plan. Staff has found that the requested amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we will go through that a little bit later on in the presentation. Criteria number 2 is whether the full range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district will be compatible with the existing uses in the area under consideration. So we have seen that majority of the directly surrounding area is vacant. However, there exists some new multifamily development that is occurring to the direct north of the property, as well as existing residential to the east of the property. So as we examine the Land Development Code, the commercial district is defined as a district designed to encourage and facilitate commercial activities, and those activities to meet the needs of several types and varieties of general commercial. So the use table that is found in Table 4.1.6 of the Land Development Code reflects specific types of uses that align with that definition. So those uses are primarily geared towards low to high density and intensity specific commercial activities, but they run the gambit from recreational and entertainment, vehicle-related commercial, food and beverage services, commercial and professional services, places of assembly, etc. It should be noted that no commercial development is permitted, or no residential development is permitted outside of the use of assisted living facilities within the commercial zoning district. Provided this, when we look at the lots themselves, as well as if we look at them together, so staff analyzed them both individually and as a component together, they have the ability to fit based on their size and the uses permitted within there. While the use is not something that is necessarily desirable, directly adjacent to RML districts or residential districts, the RML district is identified as a suitable buffer, both within our Land Development Code in the definition section for residential, multifamily, low zoning districts, as well as our comprehensive plan as a suitable buffering district to situate itself between residential, single-family, low densities and higher densities and intensities commercial development. There's also additional requirements in the code that permit commercial development to be next to such residential developments, provided that certain items are met and that is fully able to be done within these properties. So staff has found that this section was met. So going into standard number 3, the third criteria is whether the range of uses allowed in the proposed zoning district are compatible with the existing and potential uses within the area under consideration. As we previously discussed in section 2, the proposed uses which could be construed or could be constructed and permitted on the commercial developments, while they are higher and more intensive uses, they are suitable to be placed next to the residential multifamily low permissible uses as a buffering use, and they share the same types of uses in both densities and intensities as the commercial properties that exist directly adjacent to it on the west, the north, and the south, including those uses permissible in the commercial corridor zoned areas far to the west and far to the south. So staff has found that this use is acceptable and that the standard is met for this section. The fourth criteria is whether the proposed zoning district will serve a community need or a broader public purpose. Given the city's documented lack of commercial land, roughly 20% of land in the city is dedicated for commercial use. The new commercial land will not only serve a broader city need by increasing the amount of commercial tax base, it will also provide the ability for new commercial to be implemented within the neighborhood and to serve an immediate neighborhood need, so that it would reduce fuel trips, reduce emission, and provide goods and services which are necessary and applicable for the residential neighborhoods that exist around it. So staff found that this criteria was met. Force of habit. Moving on to criteria number 5. That is whether the characteristic of the proposed rezone area is suitable for the uses permitted in the proposed zoning district. The two parcels that we are examining, they are typical in size of a standard pre-platted lot, roughly 10,000 square foot each property. They are generally flat with very little undulation. They have very little vegetation on them, and they do not contain any specific implements or adverse impacts which would necessitate which would prohibit development, I should say. And items that do exist within those sites, which could be adverse, could be mitigated through design standards that the code permits and requires. So staff has found that the characteristics of the property are suitable for this rezone and that this standard is met. And then criteria number 6, whether the zoning district other than the district requested will create fewer potential adverse impacts. Based on Table 1 of Policy 1.15 of the Comprehensive Plan, the only permissible districts for the commercial professional district are the commercial district and the professional district. There is the PUD allowance, but we are looking specifically at the by right districts and the request, so we examined the 2 districts. The commercial district is the only district that would present the least amount of adverse impacts, while the professional district does have the allowance for lower intensity and density uses, primarily around the office spaces. The commercial district has that as well. They share very similar characteristics and requirements from the Land Development Code in regards to site design criteria. However, given the existing nature of the existing zoning around the property, specifically the commercial which already exists to the west of the property, the commercial district is more natural as an extension. The professional district would represent a spot zoning, as it would be the only professional on these 2 properties within the given area. So provided that there was no other district other than the commercial, the proposed, which meets that criteria, and so staff has found that this is consistent with that criteria as well. We also examined the comprehensive plan, so beginning with policy 1.15, which we had referenced previously, the future land use table and the permissible zoning districts. Out of the 2 permissible zoning districts, professional and commercial, only the commercial district is the most suitable for this. It also meets the requirements stated in policy 1.15 of the commercial development, including FAR size and the specific allotments when it talks about the general implementation of commercial practices versus those of professional services. We also examined Objective 2 of the comprehensive plan, which specifies that the location of new commercial development, so commercial development shall be located to provide minimal vehicle trip lengths at or near transportation nodes and compatible with neighborhood residential uses. So as we examine these properties, what we did notice is that the extension down Southwest 5th Street is about 165 feet further than what is existing. That is a negligible amount of distance, and even given that encroachment farther down the street from the intersection, the extension into the neighborhood would actually, especially if coupled with a consolidated development there, would permit and allow for fewer car trips, a closer reach to the residential neighborhood, and mitigations, again, could be done in such a way that the impact of the commercial uses would be mitigated, specifically from the single-family residential neighborhood to the east. The multifamily neighborhood directly adjacent, as stated before, is designated as a buffer district, and so it is suitable for that location. So we found that the proposed request is consistent with this criteria. We also examined policy 2.1, and that the city shall encourage commercial development where it can efficiently use infrastructure and where adverse impacts on adjacent uses are minimal and where they effectively provide the community with desired products, services, and employment opportunities. These parcels have the access to all city infrastructure. They also, when developed either individually or as a combined lot, they would be providing the needed goods and services that would help support that neighborhood at a reasonable location to it. So again, it's minimizing car trips, minimizing emissions, trying to create walkable neighborhoods, things that will be beneficial for the neighborhood and for the residents that live there. So given this, staff had found that it was consistent with this policy as well. Staff would also like to highlight policy 1.14, and that is specifically the commercial siting guidelines. This was examined as part of the future land use application, and staff would like to highlight the fact that individually the parcels met about half of the criteria that were listed there. If you do consolidate them together with the parcels to the immediate west that the property owner owns and has an intent to consolidate, they meet 6 out of the 7 criteria that are necessary and are highlighted for prized and applicable commercial development. Now, that is specific to future land use applications, but staff did want to highlight the fact that it was investigated through part of the future land use process, and so that the idea about commercial at this location makes predominant sense and meets those requirements of the city comprehensive plan. So staff also reached out to fire and police to ascertain the impacts for fire and for police services at this location. So both police and fire noted a minor impact in services are anticipated. They did note, however, that it was based off of an assumed development. Actual development may modify those impacts slightly depending on what the specific development is.
Excuse me.
So based off of all of that, city staff is recommending approval of the rezone from RML to commercial. Prior to this hearing, staff has not received any communications or correspondence, and I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. I have no questions.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the applicant's representative. And Ms. Miller, based upon Mr. Santora's testimony or anything else in this hearing or otherwise, do you have any additional testimony?
No, I thought it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Have no other concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Santora, same question?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I will recommend that it go forward as requested by the applicant. As Ms. Miller and Mr. Santora are very well aware, I know that time is money, and I will do my best to get the recommendation out as quickly as possible. And I would echo Ms. Miller's comments. I thought that was an excellent presentation. Mr. Santora, nice job, and also Ms. Miller, thank you very much. All right?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So with those comments, I'm closing this hearing. I believe we're going back to case number A, as in Apple, which is a deviation with the applicant Isaac Burgos. Is that correct, Madam Hearing Examiner? All right. Can we announce that case and move forward? Thank you.
Case number DEV 24-000002, address 1418 Southwest 43rd Street, applicant Isaac Burgos. A deviation of 3 feet to allow a boat lift with a side setback of 9 feet from the east property line, property located at 1418 Southwest 43rd Street. Any persons giving testimony today, if you're able, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Hi,
Good morning,
Justin
Mr.
Heller.
Heller again. I think it's still in morning.
Still morning. For the record, again, on this case, it was noticed with sign posted on the property, mailing sent out to all properties within 500 feet, and an ad run in the local paper.
Thank you. I will find the proper notice was given.
Thank you.
And ready to move forward with the applicant's representative. Okay, come forward, please, and please identify yourself by your name. Thank you.
My name is Camille Burgos.
Not sure.
Camille Burgos.
Yeah, you might want to tilt it down a little bit.
Sorry.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you. All right, this is your opportunity to present. Thank you.
So I want to use the staff report because I agree with it. My husband and I, just a little background. Well, first and foremost, I want to apologize for my delayed arrival to Chambers this morning. Seems like fate and traffic were against me. So my most sincere apologies to staff and council.
It's all right, and I'm sure that waiting till the very end of the agenda was not what you would have desired. So no apology necessary. I figured you got messed up in traffic. So, but
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So a little background, my husband and I about 3 years ago, bought the vacant lot at 1418 Southwest 43rd. We went ahead and built a single-family home to enjoy as a primary residence with our 2 children. We went ahead and built also a dockage with a boat lift for our current boat that we had. We are both self-employed, so with the economy changing between then and now, we found that, the little bit of decrease in income, we couldn't take the bigger boat as much as we wanted to. So we went ahead and got another smaller, less than half the size of a boat, so that we can enjoy the water more with the kids on weekends and stuff like that. There's very limited boat storage and stuff like that, so with us being in the water, we didn't think anything of it. We just bought a boat lift, a jet ski lift, and went ahead and installed it after consulting with our next door neighbor, which would be the one that was directly affected. We went and approached him before we did anything, say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, is that gonna be okay with you? Being that it was, the way that his dockage is built or designed was not gonna be affected, and he agreed with it. We went ahead and did it, and then here we are. We were taking more, but with the proposed design, we are proposing to decrease the size of the actual dockage to push it in to our property line, which will only require a 3 feet deviation on the east side. We looked at all the criteria that the city was considering when considering the deviation application. The effect that we would have in the navigability of the waterway, and it really doesn't affect anybody around us, nobody in the back, nobody on the side. We looked at whether or not it would affect anybody else coming in and out of the channel. The current design, or the existing proposed design, is inside our current permitted dock, so it wouldn't affect that. The city seems to agree with it. Whether there are special conditions on the waterway that would justify the deviation, really the only thing that would be considered again is the next door neighbor to the east that would be affected, and he was okay with the design, so that criteria was met. Whether the conditions whether the condition existed or not, the result of the applicant are literally enforcement of the regulations involved. We did do the design without a permit. However, since then we have. I'm so sorry. We did do some of the work without a permit, but however, since then we have submitted application, worked with code enforcement, worked with zoning, and we submitted an application for the boat lift that has been approved, reviewed, approved, and the permit has been issued, so we have a permit to go ahead with it. So, and it just, again, because of the next door neighbor's access to it, the other condition that was reviewed was whether or not it would have an impact or hardship on us. Even if we decided to redesign the whole dockage, which would make no financial sense, the property on our west, to our west, it seems to be, and I have no proof of it, a short-term rental, and doesn't currently have a boat dock on it. So to the east of us, where we proposed the changes, he's a retirement. It's his final home. They're retired. They're not going anywhere. And even if after, they decided to do something with it and sell it, it's very slim to none the chances that somebody that's buying it is going to change the design of the dockage. Now, with the other west side being a short-term rental, not a primary home, if they were to sell the property and somebody comes in and wants to design their dockage, that would be a problem for them. So that's why we decided to, do it the way that we did it. But I just, I think that both the report shows that we meet almost every criteria, if not partially completely. After the public notice was sent out to the neighboring properties, we had another neighbor, the one exactly across the canal front to the back, dropped off another letter to, which I didn't have time to give to Justin, but I have another letter certified that he's doesn't have a problem with it. He's reviewed the design. It doesn't affect his access or his navigability. So again, the one directly to the east and the one directly to the back, they all don't seem to have a problem. So I would respectfully require that we approve the deviation request of the 3 feet to the east side.
Okay, thank you. I can't admit the letter, but you can tell me verbally that that's what it says, so, which you just did, so.
Yes, apparently the letters are, I mean, this is my first time, so apparently all the documents that were submitted, which included a letter from my neighbor to the east, both husband and wife, I went and took it upon myself to review and, research what was there, and he more or less copied the same letter and took it to get notarized and then just dropped it at my doorstep. Just didn't try to help me because he didn't have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to present today?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Heller, you're up, sir. Thank you.
Hi, again for the record, Justin Heller, Senior Planner with the Cape Coral Planning Division. For the purposes of this hearing, I'd like to be recognized as an expert witness based off my testimony on cases similar to this and my CV on file with the city.
I will find you as an expert based upon your CV, which is on file with the city, and your testimony regarding issues that are similar to the issues presented in this hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you wish to incorporate your staff report?
I would wish to incorporate my staff report at this point. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a property here at 1418 Southwest 43rd Street. The owners, Mr. and Ms. Burgos, are in for a deviation. That deviation is 3 feet in order to allow them a marine improvement with a side setback of 9 feet from their eastern property line. Property is about 10,000 square feet, has single-family future land use classification and single-family residential zoning, has about 80 feet of frontage on, we'll say El Chacon Canal, which is approximately 80 feet wide at the property. They had a boat lift installed in their 12-foot side setback on the east side of the property, and there is an active code case on it, which brings us here. The applicant did propose to modify their existing dock in order to reduce that encroachment of the boat lift in the side setback. Here's the aerial of their property. It doesn't show the boat lift, but it shows their existing dock on there. And this is a clip of the site plan that shows where their boat lift is currently on the left-hand side there. And this is what they are proposing. So they're going to cut out some of the dock in order to move it over in order to reduce that setback infringement. Now our analysis is section 5.4.11a. We have several standards. The first standard is the effect of the proposed deviation on the navigability of the waterway. And since this boat lift does not project any farther than the rest of the dock, it's not anticipated to have any impact on the navigability of the waterway, and we found the standard is met. The second standard, whether the deviation would infringe upon the use of the neighboring properties or marine improvements, we found the location of the neighboring marine improvements are such that this deviation should not interfere with the neighboring property owners continuing to use their marine improvements. Additionally, the neighbor to the east has provided a signed letter of no objection to the deviation request. And this neighbor is the only party that would be potentially impacted by this setback deviation. So staff did find that that standard was met. Standard 3, whether there are any special conditions related to the property or waterway which justify the proposed deviation. The property has 80 feet of water frontage, which is similar to most 10,000 square foot platted properties in the city that are on the water. The property has an existing permitted dock and boat slip. So we didn't find any special conditions related to the subject property or waterway that would justify this deviation. However, we looked at the neighbor's support through his letter for this deviation, and we considered that to be a special condition justifying the deviation, as they would be the only party that would be potentially adversely impacted by the deviation. So we did find that this standard is partially met. Standard 4, whether conditions exist that are not a result of the applicant and which are such a literal enforcement of the regulations involved would result in unnecessary or undue hardship. We did find that the conditions are existing as a direct result of the applicant. They, installed the boat lift without a permit, and had they done that, they would have been informed it couldn't be put there. However, the owner is willing to remove the lift and modify the dock to the greatest extent possible to allow the lift to remain on the east side of their dock. This would reduce the current setback encroachment from 9 feet down to 3 feet. And we found there was no other ideal location that the boat lift could be installed without fully removing and redesigning their existing dock, which would be quite expensive. In that case, we would view that as a type of hardship. So we found that the standard was partially met as well. For our comprehensive plan consistency, we found the properties consistent with policy 1.15 of our future land use element that identifies R1 as consistent with single-family future land use classification. It's also consistent with objective 1.3 and policy 1.35 of our coastal or conservation and coastal management element. The property is not proposed introducing any new fueling or repair facilities in a residential area. Staff found that the deviation met 2 of our standards, partially met 2 other standards, and we are recommending approval of the deviation with the following conditions. Our first condition is that the deviation shall be recorded with the Office of Lee County Clerk of Court by the City of Cape Coral, and the deviation shall not be recorded and effectuated until the owners reimburse the Department of Development Services for all recording fees associated with this deviation. And second would be the alteration of the dock with respect to design and setback shall be consistent with the sketch identified in Figure 3 in our staff report. And with that, I'll stand by for any questions you may have.
I have no questions, thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the applicant's representative. Ma'am, could I have you up to the microphone, please? You've heard what Mr. Heller has testified to. Do you have any comments or additional testimony you wish to provide?
No, I don't have anything to add.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Heller, anything else?
I have nothing further, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will grant the requested deviation based upon the testimony today and the various documents which have been submitted prior to today. And with those comments, closing that hearing, and we are moving on to case number D, as in David, and that would be applicant is MRC Property Management LLC. That was moved to the bottom of the docket to enable the applicant's representative to review the staff report in the event he wished to address the contents of the staff report. So, can we have the applicant's representative back up? Come on back up, please, sir. This is your opportunity to present whatever testimony you wish to present in support of the request that your client has made.
Okay, I have had time to review this letter, and I agree with the City Planning Division's finding on this case report.
All right, do you wish to have it incorporated into your presentation today?
Yes, please.
All right, can you tell us something about the property so that we have some basis to consider your testimony? The address, for example.
It's 1130 Southwest 43rd Street in Cape Coral. It's actually a 4-lot site, 160 feet of waterfront on Lake Finnestry, 160 feet on the street. It does have an easement across the back, utility easement, which is not normal on a lot of waterfront properties, but the owner is looking to build a new house on the property and would like to gain the additional space for development.
All right, do you have any other testimony?
I do not.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Heller, sir, you're up. Thank you.
There it is. All right, good morning. Justin Heller, Senior Planner with Cape Coral Planning Division. For the purpose of this case, I'd like to be recognized as an expert witness based off of similar cases that I've testified in and my CV on record with the city.
I will find you as an expert based upon your CV, which is of record with the clerk, and also based upon your prior testimony regarding matters that are similar to the issues which are presented in this hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is a vacation of plat request for property located at 1130 Southwest 43rd Street. The owners have requested to vacate approximately 1,001 square feet of lake right-of-way, the underlying easements as well, and approximately 888 square feet of platted easements associated with the south property line of lots 19 through 22 in block 3347, unit 65. Here's an aerial showing the property on the lake. The property is approximately 20,000 square feet, approved with a single-family home in southwest Cape Coral, has about 160 feet of frontage on Finisterre Lake, has R1 single-family zoning, single-family future land use, as all surrounding properties do. The area to be vacated is a small strip of right-of-way along the south property line and the seawall. The owners wish to vacate this right-of-way to extend the property line to the edge of the seawall. And here is a snippet from the sketch showing the area to be vacated on the property. Okay, so we review this under section 3.4.5. First criteria, we found that the unexcavated right-of-way and the underlying easements are small in area and isolated. As a result, the right-of-way and easements are not going to provide future transportation, public access, water management, or any other foreseeable public benefit. Criteria 2, we found that sufficient easements will be retained by the city for providing a continuous perimeter easement around the site, and no additional easements will be necessary. So we found this standard met. Criteria 3, we found the vacation does not include a request to vacate an alley or street right-of-way, so the criteria is not applicable. The requested vacations will not negatively affect the navigability or visibility of boaters using the lake. Standard 4, approval of this vacation will not result in the closure or partial closure of any right-of-way, including Finisterre Lake, and we found the standard to be met. Standard 5, all 3 utility providers have provided letters of no objection to the requested vacations. Consistency with our comp plan. This request is consistent with policy 1.15. The R1 district is consistent with the single-family future land use classification. It's also consistent with policy 1.15A. The site is developed with a density less than the maximum 4.4 dwelling units per acre allowed in the single-family future land use classification. Planning staff is recommending approval of the vacation with conditions. As far as correspondence, I had a few phone calls, but they were all just for more information about what the case was, but they didn't indicate approval or denial against it, and it was just informational. So our conditions of approval: the vacation of the lake right-of-way and underlying easements shall be consistent with that shown in the sketch and accompanying legal description prepared by R.K. Burns Surveying, Inc., dated October 30th, 2024, entitled Exhibit A. In the staff report, Condition 2, the vacation of platted easements shall be consistent with that shown in sketch and accompanying legal description prepared by R.K. Burns Surveying, Inc., dated October 30th, 2024, titled Exhibit B in the staff report. Condition 3, the city shall retain a public utility and drainage easement with a minimum width of 6 feet around the perimeter of the expanded sites, as shown in the sketch and accompanying legal description prepared by R.K. Burns Surveying, Inc., dated October 30th, 2024, entitled Exhibit C in the staff report. And Condition 4, the city shall record this resolution with the Office of Lee County Clerk of Court following receipt of the recording fees from the petitioners. That's all I have for you. I'll stand by if you have any questions.
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to provide input or testimony? Seeing none, I'll close the public testimony part of the public hearing, bring it back to the applicant's representative. Sir, could you come up, please? Thank you. You've heard Mr. Heller's testimony. Do you have any response to anything that he has said?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions. Mr. Heller, anything else?
No, ma'am, I have nothing to add.
Okay, I will recommend that the proposed vacation go forward as requested. This is a matter that the city council has a final decision on, so of course, my input will strictly be a recommendation. And I'll try to get it out as quickly as possible. With those comments, I will close our agenda for today with the comment that our next set of hearings will be on April 1st, 2024. If anyone here listening celebrates Mardi Gras, I hope you have a safe and enjoyable holiday. We stand adjourned at 11:51. Thank you.